through this. It was snowing out there. Okay. So you must have gotten up pretty early. So, furthest distance travelled, held by Joanna this week. So who can beat it next week? Might have some brothers from Birmingham, we don't know. So today I'm going to talk about something connected with what I've been studying, because I'm working in a school now. Yeah, there's a mic right here. If it's on, or if it's not, then that's up to the back. Yeah, so I've been working in a school, and every Thursday, because it's my training year, I have seminars. So I got lectures, and because teaching is such a complex profession in some ways, there's so many things to think about and consider that can actually contribute to the learning of children. And this was one thing that we were looking at this week, child development. Yeah. So basically throughout history, there have been different ideas of how children develop. There's some famous religious paintings, namely one where Mother Mary is holding baby Jesus. And baby Jesus has a surprisingly small head. And paintings of that period look quite strange, as like that baby is a bit creepy looking, because they drew the head proportionate to the body as if it was an adult. And that reflects an idea that babies are just little people, and all they need to do is grow up physically. And that seems a bit strange or a bit immature of a view to hold these days. But the view of children and how people grow and develop and learn has changed over the centuries. Some other ideas are that children are innocent and naive, and they should be protected. And basically, dependent upon your view of children or that learning, that period of growth, it will affect very much how you're going to interact with children. Another idea is that children are evil and bad, and so they need to be disciplined. What do you kids think about that? Do you need to be disciplined, Eddie? No. Probably you wouldn't like to be disciplined, and you wouldn't like to be thought of as evil either. But that is one of the views that has also been held in history. There's modern theories as well, where childhood is actually a really precious time of learning. There's like specific learning phases, and if you don't learn within a certain time period in your childhood, that period can be said to be lost. For example, learning languages is much harder after the age of 11 or 12, because when you're acquiring language at age 4 or 5, really developing that is actually the best time to learn another language. And yet in this country, we teach language not in primary school, but in secondary school, which is the wrong way around. And so lots of these ideas connect with the physical and brain development, things like this. And it made me think, well, if you have all these development milestones as a child, like what about when you grow up? Is it just like you're a lost cause? Or if like school wasn't good, are you not going to learn anymore? And I think, well, I disagree with that. So I wanted to ask you, if you could remember a positive learning experience from your school days. So some of it, might be very recent, but some of you might have to think back a few years. And even myself, I was thinking, like, I remember so little from school. But I think there are some memories that really stick with us. And then I want us to think about why is it that those experiences stuck? And what do we really learn from those? So if you can talk with the person next to you or behind you, just in a pair or in a three, think of, first of all, an experience in school, a positive one, and what you learned. So it doesn't have to be in the classroom and subject content, but a valuable lesson that you actually still recall today. And then we'll think about why is it that we remember that. So, discuss. A learning experience from our school days. Hopefully we can think of at least one positive learning experience. Okay, just one more minute, and then I'm going to ask some people to volunteer to share something. Okay, so finish off. Okay, so would anyone like to share something of their positive learning experience? Yeah, well, okay, well, maybe you didn't focus on the positive. Actually, we can learn something from a negative learning experience as well, but it stuck with you for some reason. Let's start with the positives, and if we're running thin, we can hear from you, Simon. Is there something, there seemed to be a lot of good discussion in the second row there.
I can just sit here, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I was saying to my mom how just like a few years ago I was doing my A-levels in my high school sixth form. And one of my teachers was my history teacher, his name was Mr. Cohen. And I didn't think that greatly of him. I just thought he's a bit of a pessimistic, boring teacher. But during my A-levels, I made him work really hard because he would ask the class to give him one essay, and I would give him 4 or 5. And I would ask him to mark all of them because I wanted to make sure I could do really well in my exam. And no matter how many essays I brought to him, which was probably like over 20, he marked all of them always and always gave them back to me with really good feedback. And I felt kind of bad at the end. And I went to him like just before my exams and I said, oh, I'm so sorry for all the times I made you mark so much, but thank you so much for doing it. And he just said, you know, I'm really happy to do my job for a student who really cares about what they're doing. So I thought he was a really lovely teacher.
Mm. Good. Thank you. Yeah. Good. Okay. There's a clear point that we can see in that experience. Would someone else like to share? It might be quite different to that. Mika, yeah.
pretending we were that person. So I learned a lot about Florence Nightingale, and I remember a lot about her. I just, in hindsight, I think she really gave a lot of creativity and gave us a lot of creative freedom, even though we were just 6 years old. And I still remember a lot of the things we did in that class, even though I was only 6.
Okay, thank you. Good. Anyone more? Yeah, Naomi?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about the teacher I was sent to boarding school, which is actually not a good place to be, or it wasn't for me. I didn't fit in because my parents weren't very rich. I didn't have the latest fashion, and I was a bit of an oddball. But there was this one teacher. She was an older person. I'm sorry I can't remember her name now, but she was lovely and she taught us Latin. And I have always had a love of languages. And all the while she was there and we could learn Latin, we dressed up as Roman soldiers and we enacted Caesar's campaigns. And we actually got to the point where we could write about history in Latin itself. She was a brilliant teacher. And she also took me for what was called remedial maths, because I don't have a mathematical brain and I struggled so much. And we used to sit in her study, her and me, on a one-to-one. And when I finally got the equation, after about 4 hours of trying to explain it, she'd say, "Brilliant, now let's have tea and toast." And the other thing, she introduced me to books. I think she recognized I was an unhappy child. And so she gave me books to read so that I could go off into a quiet corner and read books by myself, because quite a lot of the other girls I didn't relate to for whatever reason. I remember being very unhappy at school, but loving the fact that I could go off into a corner and read a book. And when she left the school, I was a bit sad, but I always thank her, because after, when I grew up, I learned some other languages besides Latin. She encouraged me in that. I still don't have a mathematical brain though, but anyway, and I still have my nose in a book. To this day, I've always got a book to read, and it just takes you other places. It's brilliant. And I'll always remember this teacher. Her husband was a housemaster at Eton, and she had a passion for educating. She loved us girls, and she wanted our brains to expand, but the way she taught us was absolutely brilliant, because she just loved us so much and wanted us to catch what was in her heart, wanted to give it to us. And I think sometimes this is the way to teach, but I'll always remember her. She was a brilliant teacher.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Cara, Mika. In those three, and I'm sure you all have your own examples, there's definitely, it's within a relationship that you're able to learn and grow so much. There's that support, and with that needs to be a lot of trust. And then Mika expressed the idea of giving freedom again. I'm not here just to teach you, but actually there's a lot that you can discover for yourself, and that we're all unique, and we're not just to be told what to think, but we have the privilege to think for ourselves and create. And then through Naomi, what she shared, there was definitely reward for hard work, and just through that loving care and passionate involvement in education, she was able to pass on so much, which is great. So I think so we have some of those experiences in our childhood, hopefully many, if for some of us maybe just some, but there's something in that, in the way we learn and the way we where the way teachers impart knowledge onto us, and the way also we have inherited ideas from others. So the next point is, why do we need to develop, and why grow? Apart from growing physically, Why is there a need for growth and development and change? Yeah. Because historically, if we think back to a few hundred years ago, before the time of the Industrial Revolution, a child of 7, they can take care of themselves. All they need to be educated in is, how to till the field and, plant seeds. And their education pretty much stops because they're able to do intellectually what the adults are doing, so then they're just sent out to work. So in a way, that their education stops then, and they're seen as adults because they can do what everyone else can, although they're still small. And today, there's greater and greater pressure in the education system, especially in the UK, of us trying to compete with other nations like Japan and Korea, in these world league tables. And, what is it really for? Why are we developing? Why are we aspiring to, be smarter or learn more? Does anyone have any thoughts? There's no right answer, just if there's something you've thought about. Well, I think that, of course, there would definitely be joy in the simple life, tilling the field. But from age 7, you might feel a bit restricted. Okay, well, this is what I have to do. This is my life ahead of me. And today we have so much freedom, too much freedom sometimes. But I think, has anyone had the feeling of being in a job for a while and then just feeling not challenged and therefore unhappy? So put your hand up if you've been in a job doing some repetitive work. It's become easy and mundane, and therefore you're not challenged, and therefore you feel unhappy. So I think that's a common experience. And it doesn't matter what job you have. You might be a leading, you might be the manager of somewhere, or you just might be the foot soldier or the lowly worker. But whatever you're doing, if you're staying there and you're doing this again and again, I think you will definitely aspire for greater. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. Humans have this innate aspiration to do more, be more. And there's this famous quote by C.S. Lewis, which I really like. And he says, "I have found a desire within myself that no experiences in this world can satisfy." So we have that. So no matter where we go, we have this feeling like there must be something more to life. There must be something more that I can do, more to experience. The most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. So there's something in us that is not satisfied. We feel restless. We want to do more, achieve more, learn more. And then obviously if we look at the world around us, there is a lot to do, and we wish we could do more of it. But we can't do it alone. Just in those experiences, they all involved a teacher figure or someone that we could really look up to, trust, and learn from. So I think another thing I looked at this week is how we give feedback, how we give advice to other people, and how do we take advice from others? Because we're not just lone islands, but we need to work together. But if we can't give good advice and take advice well, then we're also kind of cutting ourselves off. So another thought experiment. If you can think of a piece of bad advice that someone gave you, and why it was bad and why it was so unhelpful, and then let's do the bad advice one first. So if anyone's giving you some bad advice, and then we'll match it up to what good advice sounds like. Yeah. Hopefully none of you, maybe you didn't listen to it. You knew it was bad and you didn't listen to it. But I think we know what that sounds like. Let's just talk just for 1 minute, maybe keep it short, and if you can't think of anything, we'll move on. But just talk for 1 minute with the person next to you. So what does bad advice sound like, and when have you received it in your life? It could have been from a central figure. There might be a bit of drama there. But yeah, well, let's look at why that was bad advice. Okay, discuss. Okay. So finish up. Okay, so I'll start. I'll share one piece of bad advice I received. And this probably connects with many experiences that you might have had. But maybe you did a better job than I did. So I was in secondary school, and I had my group of friends, and there was a new kid, and my friend encouraged me to go make fun of the new kid, and like, go on, do it, go on. And then I did it, and then they thought it was funny, so then I thought it was funny, but that kid was new, and then he just feels like completely victimized, and then of course the teacher got involved, and then I had to apologize, and then I just felt stupid, and like it was so obvious that wasn't a good thing to do. I'd been in primary school, I knew what bullying looked like, I'd been bullied as well, so it's just, even though we've been through bad experiences, we can still find ourselves doing something that we know is not right, just because we're listening to the wrong person and following that bad advice for the wrong reasons. Do we have any other examples from your discussions? Maybe from when you were much younger. Sean?
Was really similar. It's like, if something bad happens, often your friends will just tell you to react bad, or you should punch in the face, or maybe stuff like that. They just say, just do something, or this, and say something like that.
Mhm.
That's always bad advice. It's just there's no thought behind it. It's just
Yeah.
react. Eye for eye.
It's like they're imposing how they would react onto you, because you're not obviously reacting like they are, and they feel like, well, I would do that, you should do that too. So they're imposing also their own thoughts on you, even despite them being bad. So the next one is about good advice. And we watched a video, and I don't have it here, but it's called something like Johnny and the Butterfly. And it's this. It's quite famous in educational circles. But basically, a preschooler. It's in America, so it's like, I don't know, third grade or something. He's asked to draw a butterfly, and he's given the picture of this tiger butterfly photograph to like model his butterfly after. And so the first butterfly he draws is nothing like it. He's basically not even looked at it, and he's just drawn what he thinks a butterfly looks like. And he asked, and then the teacher shows this picture compared to the real photograph and says, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And they said, "Oh, well, it looks like a butterfly." And then what they do is they give like specific feedback. "Oh, well, the wings could be a bit more straight at the top, and maybe they could be a bit more triangular." And just giving specific, helpful feedback each time he redrafts it. And each time this butterfly looks a bit more like the picture. And then again, some positive, specific feedback of what the child can do practically to change it. And through this process, his final butterfly, after 6 stages or so, looks like not just a third grader's painting, but something that you might expect from a year 7 in secondary school or something. So making an amazing amount of progress just through these stages of positive feedback. So what good advice have we received in our life? I've got a few which I'll share, but I want to give you a chance to think of maybe the best advice you've received in your life, or something positive that you felt it was delivered well and it was actually impactful to your life. So just this is the last time, but for a couple more minutes, and then we'll share, and then I'll move on to my conclusion soon. Okay, go. So a good piece of advice that was impactful for your life. Okay, finish up in the next 10 seconds. Okay. So can we hear something from the back? Third, last row. Anyone want to share something from the back? Malumba, sorry. Oh. You advise not to give up cheese. Oh, to give up cheese. And how has that impacted your life?
My digestion and inner workings is better.
Good. So that advice is based in some, scientific theory, an understanding of health. So it's based in truth, and then you've taken that, and it's actually had a positive effect. Malumba?
Oh, yeah, actually, I've been advised by the career advisor school here.
Yeah.
I was told once, okay, it's good to consider Englishman, huh?
Yeah.
Englishman, because your name can be a drawback in the job market. And I was very impressed because she was quite genuine and sincere. Huh? It's an English lady, actually.
Yeah.
But I stick to my name.
Yeah.
But many times I know in the job market it was a big problem because even in some job where they accepted me,
Yeah.
before they saw me, before the interview, it was like, they were expecting like somebody from the jungle. But when I turn up, they were impressed. You can see when the person is playing his emotion, oh, it's so long, but it's not. But the advice was very good. Very
Okay. Yeah.
good.
Is there one more?
This one,
Yeah.
I was advised by a friend, and it's like in any situation that you're in, you need to take immediate action. And you're not sure, basically, whether it's the right one or not. And instead of reacting straight away, just take two seconds to think about it before you react. And I found that very valuable, especially when you're driving and somebody just trying to trip you up or cut you up. And instead of reacting straight away, and which is dangerous, then just take 2 seconds to just think, should I react to that person, or should I do what I want to do? And in that case, that can save your life. So that's very, very
Good. And I think these kinds of things we've heard perhaps before or we've read in a book, but then hearing it from a friend, someone that we trust and that we love and they love us, we hear it's about getting that piece of advice at the right time, given in the right way. One bad piece of advice, so it wasn't really advice, was when I was a teenager, and I probably was this, but my dad called me arrogant. And I responded, I was like, I'm not arrogant, which is, what you might expect. So it might have been true, but it wasn't helpful. It didn't make me any less arrogant as a kid. But then a really good piece of advice that my dad also gave me is that we were on a plane to Korea. It was during the 21-day workshop for the Blessed Wives in 2001. And then, we're 5 kids. And then Betty was in Korea or something, and Victor didn't want to go, and Kevin was busy or something, so then it was down to me. The 4th son got to go. And we were on the plane, and we were really close to the first class section. And then, I'd never been on a long-haul flight before, so it was all very exciting for me. And one of the flight attendants, she brought some kimbap, some Korean sushi by. That was meant for the first class people, but offered it to me and my dad. And then I took some. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I asked my dad, do you want some? And he said, no, it's okay. And I was like, okay. And then I got straight to my sushi. And then, so then I was eating some, And then my dad said, in a gentle way, he said, you know, it's good to ask 3 times when you're offering something to someone. And it hit me like, oh, you know, you don't realize what you're doing. But he said it, he didn't say, oh, that's selfish of you, or you don't really want to offer it. He said, it's good, and he said it with a smile, it's good to ask 3 times if you're offering something. Because then it really shows that you're actually thinking of the other person, you're not doing out of politeness. And I was only 11, but I still remember that experience really vividly, because it was really good advice to start. It was practical, and it was given in a way that was loving. And yes, I think if there's a combination of things in what we say to others and how we receive advice from others, that can be most impactful. Especially if we view the world in a slightly different way than other people. So the last segment. Does anyone know the leading cause of stomach ulcers? Stress? Hands up for stress? But who also thinks it might be spicy food? Spicy food or diet? Is there anyone who thinks there's something else? David?
I think it's related to what Patrick said. One's negative reactions to certain things or certain people.
Leading to stress and things like that. Okay, so...
So it's your reaction that causes the stress.
yeah,
It's not the situation, it's
Sure.
not the person, it's not the thing, it's your reaction to it.
Yeah.
So the advice that Patrick was given was quite profound.
so we make ourselves stressed in a way, yeah. Okay, so, well, you're all wrong. It's something else. But this is the common belief held by, the medical profession until the 80s. So quite recently, that stomach ulcers, which was fairly common, was caused by stress and poor diet, because there was no other idea or theory to explain it otherwise. So there was a pair of scientists, and they had a different idea, which went against popular opinion and the prevailing theory. It was that there must be something going on, perhaps some bacteria that was causing these stomach ulcers. So but there was no easy way to test it. So he grew a culture of this suspected bacteria. He grew a nice culture of it in a warm glass of water. So there's plenty of those bacteria thriving. And with a test subject of 1, he drank the beaker of bacteria to test his theory. So he was taking a risk. And a couple of days later, he had onset of nausea and vomiting, and so he had a stomach ulcer. And then the leading bacteria in the stomach was this Heliobacter pylori. So this specific bacteria which he suspected was causing him stomach ulcers. And so you could say that what he discovered was the truth. And yet the medical profession was resistant to this, because they had produced many products to manage the pain of stomach ulcers. So you have all these things in the pharmacy that you can buy. Stomach ulcers, oh, take this, it will help your stomach. All these things, you might know some products. And it's probably less profitable to just cure a disease than it is to sell a product and manage it. So despite this being true, and a really helpful discovery which could help millions of people with stomach ulcers, it wasn't very quick on the uptake. And if we compare that to a type of truth or a better understanding of what God is and what God's plan is for our life, it might be a better truth that describes the world in a better way than you've heard otherwise, and yet it might not be very quick on the uptake. And I think if we're able to, of course, live in the way that we believe is right, and think about how we can give good, meaningful advice, and if we view all people as lifelong learners, that there's always room to grow, whether you're 7 or 70, then this is how we can affect change based on truth. You need to take risk. You need to put yourself out there to package, good advice or love or truth in a way that people can receive it. So it's quite a complex, bag of things in order to really impart and help other people when they're in need. And it also, requires a sensitivity because it's about timing. So often when I'm on the tube and I'm, having a bad week and just thinking mostly of myself, I'm not going to be the first one to grab the pram and, take it up the stairs. Someone else beats me to it, and it happens again and again. But when I'm more conscious, then I'm like, there's an opportunity, I need to do the right thing, instead of hesitating, waiting behind. So it takes all those things, and then also, conscientiousness of, this could be the moment. This is, an opportunity where I can help my friend. And so, in a way, you're not stepping out as like, okay, now I'm going to tell someone about the truth. But if you're trying to live as the best way you can, in line with God's truth, then those opportunities will come, and we need to, grab them, and give people advice that is really meaningful to them, that can really help enrich their lives. Yeah. So that's my main message, and I'm going to close with a prayer. So, Heavenly Parent, thank you for this this morning. We could share together. It's still the beginning part of this year, and we're looking ahead. After completing last year and thinking, what can we do differently this year, or what ways can we do more? And we need a constant relationship with you and each other in order to refresh our old ways of thinking and try and keep on learning, keep on growing, because there's still so much that you believe that we can do, that we're capable of. And so we pray that we can take your vision for each one of our lives and really uphold it as a great priority in our life, to live to a higher standard, and to really have a greater and greater awareness of the needs of others, that we can give support and love where it's most needed and when it's most needed. And we pray for everyone here and those who are not well enough to be here, and we pray for them. And for this prayer, on behalf of everyone here, and my name is Chris Maloney, husband of Mika Kano, a blessed natural couple, Arju. Okay, we'll have a few moments of reflection.